K.3 complex conjugates. This is going to be by far the easiest lesson in I. Super easy, okay? So just listen up and you could make 100 on it if you wanted to. The conjugate of A plus BI is A minus BI, okay? Let me repeat that. The conjugate of A plus BI is A minus BI. Well, what's the difference between A plus BI and A minus BI? The signs, okay? So you just switch the sign of the imaginary number. The real number stays whatever it is. Find the complex conjugate. Let me scroll up. Find the complex conjugate of the given number. Write your answer in the form real number plus imaginary number. Here's your real number. Here's your imaginary number. The conjugate is negative 8 plus 5i. All you do is change the sign of the imaginary number. 1 plus 2i, 1 minus 2i. Yes, that's as easy as it gets, right? Negative 9 plus 6i. The negative 9 stays negative 9 because the real number does not change. The 6i, though, becomes negative 6i. Is this an imaginary part? Yes. So the conjugate of it is going to be positive 5i. What does sum mean? To add. Find the sum of negative 1 minus 9i and its complex conjugate. So we're going to add the first part with its conjugate. And look at what happens. So negative 1 minus 9i, what's the conjugate? Negative 1 plus 9i. If we're adding those, what happens? Those are opposites, so they go away, but you still have a negative 1 and a negative 1 that makes negative 2. Okay, find the sum of negative 2 and its complex conjugate. So again, we're going to add negative 2 and its complex conjugate. To be able to write a conjugate, you change the sign of the imaginary part. Is negative 2 real or imaginary? Does it have an I? No, it doesn't have an I. So it's a real part of the complex number. And so if you're making a conjugate, you only change the imaginary part. So the negative 2's conjugate is just negative 2 because there's not an I to be able to switch. And those do not cancel each other out. They actually become negative 4. Okay. Real number. I'm sorry, not real number, but the first part of the question, which is 7i, and we're going to add its complex conjugate. So in this part, 7i, is 7i the real part or the imaginary part? It's the imaginary part because it has an I. So what's the complex conjugate of 7i? Negative 7i. What happens whenever I add them? They cancel out. So our answer is going to be 0. How do you write the conjugate of a complex number? Change the sign of the imaginary part. Have fun, that's it.